Alright, hello everyone. This is gonna be my guide, little Lagranion's guide
doing this?
to speedrunning on current patch and on console. So this guide will be more pertaining to console runners and anyone who just wants to run on the current patch as opposed to the kill run patch. So excuse my movement, it's a little rusty. I haven't played in a few months, but this is just gonna go over the how-tos, the know-hows, and what to really keep in mind when playing on the current patch and on console. So first things first, for all the console homies, right? We gotta look at the binds. So this is what my binds look like. It's pretty basic. A lot of it's pretty default. I use the claw grip, which is why jump is on X, and I have movement crouch on L3. So the basis behind my movement bind selection is basically being able to dash, slide, jump while being able to look around at all times, while having both my thumbs on both sticks at all times. It makes movement, in my opinion, a lot easier, right? To just maneuver around with, right? It does take a little getting used to with claw grip, so alternatively, alternatively you could switch jump to R1. I don't use R1. So alternatively you could switch jump to R1. Right, let's just assign taunt to that. And it's the same thing. Right, we can do the same thing. But instead of using claw grip, you can use like a pretty basic hand scheme. So I'll just put that back because that's what I'm used to. Yes, I want to keep changes. So sensitivity is also pretty big on console. I like to keep it relatively high. At 70. 70 is a good middle ground for me because you do have to aim a certain amount with the shuriken. So to combine quick flicks with aiming, I keep the controller sensitivity at 70 and the dead zone's like really low so that it's just high enough to get rid of any like stick drift, but it is not high enough to like cancel out any movement and make it feel tacky. The response curve mapping is closer to 1 because I like linear. That all just comes down to personal preference. A lot of this controls comes down to personal preference, right? It's not really essential, but it is preferable that you get good to a control scheme that is favorable for you, and you can get all of the movement tech consistently. That's all that we really need, right? Consistency. That's all speedrunning is. So yeah, so that's the basics of binds. Let's see. Now before we go into what we can do on current patch as opposed to kill run patch, is first we got to check what has changed between current and kill run patch. So first things first, right? Very important is coyote time. So as explained in Blaidan's movement guide, I would really recommend watching that before watching this, so that you have context as to what I'm talking about. And yeah, it's really like a lot of the stuff that Blaidan says translates to this guide in a lot of ways. We'll get to what doesn't apply, but basically everything in the basic and advanced movement tutorials apply in current patch, with like a couple of exceptions. So first thing we want to address is coyote time. In current patch, it is actually substantially bigger. The window where you can jump is substantially bigger to kill run patch. I believe on kill run it's about a third of a second. On current, it definitely feels more like half a second. Like you have half a second to be able to jump after falling off a ledge, as opposed to kill run patch. This will come in handy real soon, and I'll explain why in just a moment. But yes, this actually makes a lot of DSJs, right, travel a lot further horizontally because you can just jump a lot later. So another thing is that another change is walls. Walls have become noticeably stickier, or so what I've heard.
Even your current speed won't be enough.
So it's a lot harder to get off walls.
You
can look around, but it's like you basically have to look perpendicularly to the wall to even fall off. So it's just something to keep in mind. And if you really want to get off the wall, you can either just jump, or you could just crouch off the wall, and it kicks you off. Alright? So it's not a big deal, but it definitely helps a lot with wall climbing and wall running in general. Now, yes, one more thing that has changed is the nature of being in a crouched state while in the air. So if you recall from Blaidan's movement guide, you can do what is known as an AGD, or an aerial ground dash, where if you hold the crouch button, you can continually dash, and it'll register as ground dashes, and you can stack the AGDs infinitely, basically, and you get many speed boosts. In current patch, that's not really how it works. We can do a double dash. That's something I will be explaining, but you can't stack more even if you hold crouch. And we're up here. Alright. So if you dash within the coyote time period, you stay crouched, but if you dash like after, let's see if I can just fit here. Yeah, you basically stay crouched, but you don't get that ground dash, and you stick with the one aerial dash that exhausts once until you touch another surface, right? So no AGDs. Now for the movement tech, right? This is what all you've been waiting for. Is the movement tech. So you've noticed double dashing, right? Blaidan has explained this in guides. He's explained this in guides, and yeah, it's pretty simple. It's just two ground dashes, right? Like that. And both of them stack, and you can go really far. Now, why this changes in current patch, right, is because of the coyote time. So now, instead of being bound to the ground to be able to do the double dash, we can do it essentially in the air as well. So we can get up to the ledge, right? Of course, if this was kill run patch, you just fall to your death. But in current patch, you can actually do a double dash in the air. Now, this is really important for current patch speedrunning, because it's essentially a free super. You don't have to get to the ledge and try your hardest to super and like learn all the technical, you know, oh, setup, oh, I gotta do a super here. You don't have to, because in fact, that's a super, right? And that is a double dash. So if you've noticed, it does take a little bit of a keen eye, but double dashes actually go slightly bit faster and slightly bit further than a super. So basically, anywhere that a super is used or can be used, essentially can be replaced with a double dash. And you just get a better speed boost too, which makes a lot of strats that are like little inconsistent depending on like the super and whether you get it, extremely trivial if you can just learn the double dash. That's it. So like a lot of the super movement in Forbidden Zone, right? Everything can be replaced. Every super can be replaced with a double dash, but that doesn't mean that supers are extremely out of place anymore. It's not like they're obsolete, because remember, double dashes take 2 dashes. And what happens when you only have 1 dash? Then you are relegated to supers. because you just can't. You can't double dash with just one dash. So that is the general overview of double dashes. I'd suggest just getting really good, because it doesn't have to be used in the air. You can use it basically anywhere and get a huge burst of speed, as long as you can spare 2 dashes, right? Which makes everything feel a lot faster. So yeah, that's double dashes. And now we're going to talk about double aerial dashes, which is also a little perk of Coyote time and the nature of this game. So if you like aerial dash within the Coyote time period, you essentially get 2 air dashes, right? So you can do, well, obviously it has to refresh. So the game kind of, as long as you can jump, as you can see there, as long as you can jump, you can basically refresh your aerial dash for free. And why is this important? It's kind of like if you missed, it's mainly important for when you've missed your double ground dash. For example, like you're at this ledge and you just can't crouch. So you can get like, a 2 dashes, right? It covers the same amount of distance as, well, almost the same amount of distance as a super, or like for relevant strats. Well, some relevant strats. Of course, this is very nitpicky, and this is more of a backup thing, but essentially, right, if you go for the double dash timing, and you can't crouch, which relegates you to, you know, just dashing and jumping, which doesn't give you a lot of speed. You can essentially just get 3 dashes like that. Not a lot of speed there, but it's just, it's a nice backup. Honestly, it's just a nice backup. Right? It's very simple, but it's not something that is absolutely necessary or even required to learn in any percent speedrunning. In fact, if you can just learn the double dash timing and you just get too close to the ledge and you just miss the ledge, oh, well, you've already done the inputs for a double dash, so you've done the inputs for a double aerial dash, and all you have to do is recognize that, oh, I didn't crouch, so I gotta jump, and I'll just get 1 more aerial dash. Right? Pretty simple. Now, this is another weird thing. Very niche. Very, very niche. Really, I haven't found so niche that I haven't found a use for it. But basically, wall dash jumping is where you kind of stick yourself parallel to a wall, and you kind of DSJ next to it, and it's like really tight. It's really tight. Honestly, I'd not recommend going for it. But essentially, if you can get yourself to stick to the wall for like a frame or 2, like that, right? That little wall run animation actually pushes you up a little bit. And if done perfectly, like you've stuck to the wall for like only 1 frame and lost minimal speed, it's basically just a DSJ off a ledge or off a wall. Really, it can only be done in corners though. It can't really be done on normal walls, so it's really just a DSJ, but with a little extra height. It's not really something you gotta learn. I cannot emphasize this enough though. The main movement that you really want to learn is just the double dash. Alright, that's all you really need to learn in current patch. And just getting used to the walls and stuff.
You don't want to damage yourself.
Alright, time for the final little tidbit. Alright, and this is a shout out to Giannis and Longer Warrior for helping me really understand this little tech. So, there's this thing called a Z-warp, and I'll just show it real quick. So first, I gotta lock my position. And make sure I don't
What are these uplinks?
stick on
Think
any
of them
of
as
the
loose
walls.
cables you can grab onto.
So now I'm
to
down
control.
here.
Although they can be much more dangerous than electricity.
Let's set this up.
Why are they here?
Like that.
They're what's left of cyber void infrastructure. At one point, the terminals were everywhere.
Yeah.
Now,
And you can
we
see
must make do with
we've
scraps.
teleported upwards basically. Let's stick here. I'll show another demonstration. Hold on. I'll show a more I don't know, visually appealing Z-warp. So this is what it's called. It's called Z-warp because we're literally teleporting ourselves up. So the way that it works, is there like, oh, there's a ceiling. Whoops, I forgot about that. Let's continue in the level then. Yeah, that's another Z-warp. I did nice random setup there.
The small turbines are responsible for internal circulation. It's the big one we have to worry
Alright, that
about.
looks good. So,
For now.
a Z-warp is basically literally just pushing yourself up in a vertical direction, or the Z direction. And the way that this works is the game kind of remembers the last Z coordinate of the wall run that you just performed. Now, if you set yourself up next to a wall and kind of do an incomplete wall run, it kind of like saves, well, it takes the difference of the 2 points, so there's one here and there's one over there. If you remember, there's like a little checkpoint over there that the game remembers. And as time passes, you see as we get closer to 10 seconds, so there's a 10-second timer that starts as soon as you do this incomplete wall run. And as the timer ticks, your Z direction is kind of going up until it reaches that point in 10 seconds, in which case the Z-warp stops working after 10 seconds. But essentially, the longer you wait, the more you teleport. So I'm gonna wait 4 seconds. Wait, hold on. I think I gotta set it up again. Let's set it up right here, right? There. It remembers our Z, right? So 1, 2, 3. Small little Z-warp, right? Now let's go set it up there again. Messed up. Alright, so we're gonna set it up here. Oh yeah, also mantling removes that little checkpoint that it saves. So if you mantle, then a Z-warp won't work. So, there we go. Sticky walls are a pain sometimes. Alright, there we go. Now it's saved. Now we're gonna do a setup. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And boom, we've teleported higher. So the longer you wait, the higher you teleport. And yeah, that's basically it. If you want, I'm not sure if I can find a little... Yeah, you know what? Maybe I can show like a small little application of this. If I get high enough, right? And I set my little Z coordinate all the way up here. Let's go down here. And let's do a Z-warp where the ceiling's not really that high, right? Alright, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I like to do 8 seconds because it's a lot more consistent. And boom! As you can see, we have literally teleported out of bounds because we've shot straight up above the ceiling. And yeah, it's not really used in any percent too much, but it is a little neat little thing, and it is more consistent in current patch. So I did want to show it off. just a little bit. And that's about it for the movement guide. Honestly, that's pretty much it. Now, a couple of things that you might want to remember is that movement does influence movement in this game. So, for example, like the way you're moving before a DSJ kind of influences the DSJ that you're going to perform next, and it's a lot more exaggerated when it comes to SDSJs and double dashes, right? So if you do a double dash from a standing position, right, we'll reach there. But if we say we did a little dash and then we did a double dash, we started a little further back, but it does give a little bit more of an oomph. As you can see, we did go a little higher there, which means we did go a little further and a little faster. So, yeah, starting from a DSJ or an SDSJ or even a dash, right? An aerial dash, going from aerial dash to DSJ instead of just doing a DSJ, it feels a lot crisper, right? It feels a little faster, it feels a lot crisper, and overall it's just a better feeling. So this is just something to keep in mind. So when you start, like, you don't want to wait around and then do an SDSJ. Like, you don't want to like wait, stand around, then do an SDSJ or a DSJ. It's one of the main ways how top runners kind of look a lot faster, even though you're kind of performing the same stuff, is that like there are little fragments of movement that's carried over from the last little thing you performed. So it's just something to keep in mind. Alright, what's next? Oh yeah, for the Updog, right? There is a consistent way, because I know it's very frustrating, right? Because the dash, right? If you've ever tried an Updog, you know that like a dash up like that can be influenced by your last held way. So what I do instead, for the elevators, I do not touch the stick. Let's say that's the elevator door, right? I just dash towards it. You're already facing the way that you need to face for an Updog. So I just don't touch the left stick at all. I just jump, dash, and then you're already set up for an Updog. And then you just go for it. And the timing's explained in Blaidan's videos, so I'm not going to go into it. In fact, actually, no, I have a 40-second load time. So honestly, it's not really worth it. But yeah, that's my little official, unofficial guide to Ghost Runner movement speedrunning on the current patch and on console. That's about it. Now, as for practice, there's nothing really you could practice in terms of general movement, except maybe the double dash, right? I would suggest, if it's really difficult to get the timing, right? The timing down of a double dash. If you really need it, you can set a metronome to like 200 BPM and just practice every fourth note, right? You can just practice on that. But really, it's just to get the feel of it. And the lenient coyote time makes jumping feel a lot safer, so don't be afraid to really extend those jumps, right? Especially on ledge dashes and cyber voids and SDSJs that you really need to go far horizontally. Don't be afraid to just let that thing fly for a little bit. And yeah, that's it. This is my that's the guide. Just go fast. And all I recommend to do is just have fun.
Be careful. There are keys everywhere.
Won't they die as well?
Either they all have breathing gear or they have no idea what's going on. Either they all have
I forgot I
breathing
don't. I usually have this on. So, yeah, huge shout out to
Here, where they have
Tart
no idea what's going on. The
and
game
Ice Cream Man, Trinite, everyone who's helped me get this far, and I hope I can
I keep
really
trying to
help
contact the
other
other
people
climbers, get help.
just get faster, and especially
luck so
console
far.
runners. I love console runners.
Maybe they're laying low.
I wish there were more of you, and
They're quite literally
I hope that this guide
laying
really
low
helps.
on the ground, dead.
Even though I'm just too lazy to
I've
edit, a
seen
lot of
the bodies.
vocal issues if I
Some
don't use my
cameras
PS4
around the
mic,
base are still
and
operational.
likes. Oh yeah, one last tip is get really good at restarting from checkpoint, because we don't have instant restart.
They could have just
It's just get used to.
the filters.
I
As
know it
long as
looked
the
bad there,
installation
but
remains intact, the contamination.
get used to restarting from checkpoint with your current console. Mine's old, so it takes a second to go down. It takes a second to read the input, so I gotta stall a little bit and then restart from checkpoint. But restarting from checkpoint's really integral to Ghost Runner speedrunning, because it just teleports you where you need to be all the time, everywhere. If you've ever seen like top runners or any runner just randomly teleport, it's because they have instant restart, and we don't have that. So we make do with the restart from checkpoint and the back to menu. And that's it. Thank you for watching my guide.